Never thought I would be here again. Now I feel like I should leave again. It's okay, they're only feelings. I feel like I can feel again.
Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of my Avatar The Last Airbender podcast. And that song right there is called Morning by Francis and the Lights. And Francis and the Lights have some good songs, but the reason why I picked that song is one line in particular, kind of towards the end. He goes, "It's okay, they're only feelings." Well, he didn't say it like that. He goes, "It's okay, they're only feelings." And for some reason, that line just makes me feel good. I don't know if that's the intention of the line, but it makes me feel good. Just feelings could be so complex. And just the fact that he can make it sound so simple. That one line just makes it sound so simple. It's just feelings, you know? And the reason why I picked that is because I had to have a difficult conversation with one of my friends. I just felt like he wasn't executing, and I just, good friends will let good other friends know when they're doing something wrong. So that's just kind of what I try to do, and he didn't take it the right way, and but it's okay. They're only feelings, and I don't want to make it seem like feelings aren't a big deal or whatnot, because they are, but it's simple. It's a lot simpler than we think. And I will say this: beware of the person who always has good news about what's gonna happen. I'll say that again. Beware of the person who always has good news about what's gonna happen. It's one thing if they say it's gonna happen, then it happens. It's another thing if they're always saying, "Oh, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen." One day I need to see it happen. So that's all I'm gonna say. So going back to executing, I got another TikTok video that went crazy. Over 1 million views in less than 24 hours. So I must be doing something right, or the TikTok gods are loving me for some reason. So I appreciate that. And the comments, I go through every single comment and try and respond. But this last video, there were so many comments, and I would respond to every single one. But TikTok cut me off. They won't allow me to comment on that video anymore. And I feel terrible because I want everyone to feel like they're heard, because I know what it's like to say something and people kind of ignore it. So I don't want anyone else to feel like that. So I wish I could comment on every single. It doesn't matter what they say. I would try and comment. And that was kind of crooked. It looked like a little bit. I don't know if that fixed it or not, but hopefully. But yeah. But the comments, people are saying some nice things, and it's making me feel good. But I try not put too much value on what other people say. Damn it, it's still crooked. Hold on. Maybe if I go like this. Better. I try to not put too much value on the good things, because then when someone says something negative, then I'm gonna put too much value on that. So it's good to stay in the middle, not get too high and not get too low of what someone says. But yeah, they're saying some nice things, They said, a bunch of people were saying they love my voice. And that's weird, because I always got made fun of for my voice and the way I talk. So it's weird that someone's commenting, like so many people are commenting that they like it. It just goes to show, just because a small group of people say something, it doesn't make it right. And if that's what you hear all your life, you're going to go through life thinking my voice isn't good. It's not until a larger group hears it that they're like, oh, he actually has a good voice. So it's just weird how your perception can be influenced by such a small group. And I think you can translate that into what's going on in today's world. But the small group, the small majority, that's the same. And it's a shame. But yeah, they like my voice and they're complimenting on it. And that's probably got to be a top 10 compliment for me. Saying they like my voice, you know? Um it's nice to be complimented on something like your looks or your voice, but you don't really have any control over that. Um it's nice to be complimented on something that you control. Um that's just my opinion. So that got me thinking, what are the top 5 compliments I've ever received? And I don't remember every single compliment, but I guess I could pick out some that stuck out to me. So probably number 5, people saying they like my voice on TikTok, because that just feels good. People are saying, "Oh, I want you to come over and read me a story. I want you to narrate my life," just shit like that, and it feels good. But like I said, that's that's nothing I can control. I, I like to be. Yeah, this is gonna make me sound narcissistic, but it's like, no, I don't want those compliments. I want these, because I'm serious. I'll take any compliment, and I won't put too much weight on it. That's just how I do it. But yeah, I like to be complimented on something that I control. So that's a top 5. That's the number 5 comment for me. Compliment. Number 4, I'm gonna say number 4 is, I remember in baseball, one game, there was a rain delay, and there was one guy on the other team. He was making jokes and stuff, and we were dying laughing. And during rain delays, you can like take a baseball and write something on it and throw it over to the other dugout, and they can read it and then write another comment on it and like respond. So it's kind of like texting on the airmail, back and forth through the dugouts. But we wrote on one baseball, we were like, we will trade for your funny guy, because it was just this one guy that was just freaking hilarious. So we wanted him on our team, kind of as a joke. And the coach later, he told my coach, he's like, if you want to trade for a funny guy, I'll take your leadoff hitter, which was me. And that just made me, like, he told me that, and I never told anyone that, because I don't really like bragging or nothing, but I guess I'll put it in here since I'm doing the top 5 compliments. So that felt good. I guess tied for 4th, and kind of going along the same lines. One of the moms on the team, she told me that she would pay to watch me play. So if you spend your money on something, it means that if you spend money on something that you don't have to, then it means that you actually want it. So, or you want to do it, and that just meant a lot. So those would probably be my top 4 comments. Number 4. Number 3, I'm gonna have to go with maybe, I remember in graphic design, my graphic design teacher, she said I was a genius, just because when she looked at one of my designs and said I was a genius, and she meant it. So that felt good. So I guess I'll throw that at number 3. It feels good to think outside the box. Number 2 would have to be from my sisters. They always say, "You act like a kid," and I think they mean it as a compliment. They don't say it meanly. They're just like, "You remind me of a kid," and that's hard to beat. So that's why it's number 2, because kids are just so, they're fun, they're worry-free, they're creative, and as we get older, we lose that. So it means a lot that somebody would say that I didn't lose my creativity and I still am able to joke around and not take things too seriously. So I like that compliment a lot. And then the number one would probably be this girl one time told me that I would make a good dad. And she didn't say it like she wanted to have my babies. It wasn't in that context, if that makes sense. But she was just like, she saw me interacting. It wasn't even with a baby. It wasn't even with a kid. It was with another like adult, like a person my age. And she just randomly said, "You would make a good dad," just because I was joking around and I don't know. And that made me feel good because sometimes I worry about having kids and how they're gonna turn out and how they affect my life. But it's nice that someone else can look at me and be like, you would make a good dad. And the one thing I would do is I would make sure I don't judge them. I won't judge my kids for nothing. That's a big thing. If they, whatever they want, I'm gonna just instill confidence in them, and I'm gonna raise them right. So that's my number one compliment. And it's fun to do that. It's fun to think back and see all the times someone else made you feel good. And I'm gonna try and do that more often. So I guess we'll jump in to the Avatar. So I watched season 2, episode 5 and 6 the other night, and episode 5, it was Avatar Day, and you think, oh, Aang's gonna be celebrated. Nope, they hate him because they think that he killed their leader. And then he goes to jail, and he has to prove his innocence, prove that he didn't actually kill this person. And that reminds me of another story of when I was a juror on a court case. And this case was insane. First off, I can't believe that I was one of the 12 people picked. First off, there were a whole bunch of people, and you have to go through this whole interview process. And then, for some reason, they read off my name to be a juror. And you can't say no. That's the thing. You can't say no. You have to do it. If you're picked, you have to do it. Unless you fake your death or say you're racist or something like that, then they can take you off. But I didn't do that. So yeah, so it was a court case about a 70-year-old man. He sexually assaulted this little kid. She was like 6, I want to say, and that just broke my heart because she had to testify, and it was just so sad. You saw the interview with the police, and it was hard to watch. But the funny thing is, I'm not trying to make fun of this situation because it was very serious. But the funny thing is, he represented himself. This old man represented himself, which was a terrible idea. Very bad. You should never, ever represent yourself, ever. I'm just going to say that. Ever. There's too many laws and too many things to do in the courtroom, and he didn't know any of them. So he just looked terrible. I remember a couple times in the court, in the cases, he would cross-examine one of the witnesses and be like, "Oh, do you remember saying this?" And they would be like, "It was over a year ago. No, I don't remember if I said that exact thing." And he's like, "Oh, really? Well, I got a statement right here saying that you did say that." And then he would go in his briefcase. He would scruffle around for a little bit. He would be looking in his briefcase, and then he would go, "Oh, well, I can't find it right now." Like, bro, this is your life. Your life is on the line. Do you realize that you might be going to jail for the rest of your life, and you can't find a piece of paper? Bro, you gotta tighten up. You gotta prepare better, something. So that happened a few times, and the case lasted about 3 days. So that it was, well, technically 4 because one of the days was jury selection. So it took almost a whole week out of my life to do this. But it was interesting. Um, I remember. I don't want to get too graphic in the details because it makes me sick. But apparently, the molestation happened in a shed, and he at one point apparently he I don't want to I don't really want to explain it too much, but he had his hands on her wrist, the girl's wrist, and somehow he like slipped in or something, his hand down her pants, and at one point, I'm not kidding, this was one of his defenses. He goes, I measured from the mom's back door to the shed, and it takes he was like, it takes 5 seconds to get from the back door to the shed. And he's like, I'm an old man, so I can't move my hands from her wrist down her pants in 5 seconds. He said, I estimated, and it would take me about 7.842 seconds. Like, he broke it down to the decimals, how much he estimated it would take for his hands to get down her pants. And we are like, us as the jury, we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? First off, how do you estimate that? Second of all, that's not gonna hold up in court. And sure enough, it didn't. The other lawyer was like, objection, and the judge was like, yeah, you can't, like, that's not a defense. You can't be doing that. And multiple times during the court case, you look at the judge and he would just be like this, just head in his hands. You could tell he was he was kind of embarrassed, I feel like, because it was just a waste of his time. So that was one. But believe it or not, the story gets crazier, right? So obviously he's guilty. Obviously. Well, and then another thing that I just thought of, his wife had to testify for some reason. Because usually you don't have to if your spouse doesn't have to testify against you if they don't want to. And she didn't want to, but for some reason, he must have filled out the paperwork wrong, or I don't know what, but she had to testify against him. And she was not happy about that. The whole time, she was yelling and screaming, I shouldn't have to be here. This is unfair. Like, it was crazy. So, it was, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. So, anyway, after 3 days of this, we had to go deliberate as a jury and decide if he's guilty or not. And the whole time during the trial, you can't talk about the trial to the other juries, to anyone. So once they're like, all right, now you can talk about the trial, that's when you can start spitting out your facts. Like, oh, this is why I think he's innocent. This is why I think he's guilty. And it took about 20 minutes to decide if he was innocent or guilty. And about 19 of those minutes, we were just making fun of this man. We were just laughing at everything that happened in the court case. There wasn't a single person that didn't think he was innocent. Like, we didn't have to try and convince anybody. So it was 100% he was guilty right off the bat. We could have, I don't even think we had to deliberate, honestly. I think the judge just could have been like, all right, I think everyone thinks you're guilty. So, like, I don't think they have to discuss it. And he would have been correct. But you can't do that. It's laws or something. So yeah, we said he's guilty, and so we come out, and then we hand him the slip of paper that says he's guilty. And while the judge is like, all right, the jury has found you guilty. And while he's reading the sentence, this man, he pulls out a knife and stabs himself in the courtroom. This 7-year-old pedophile tries to kill himself in the courtroom. And I don't know how the hell this man snuck a knife into the courtroom, but he did. He stabbed himself, boom, right here in the side. And and all hell broke loose, basically. So that shit was crazy. He didn't end up dying, and I don't know. And then a couple weeks later, he ended up dying in jail. So I can't make this up. This is It was crazy. It was nothing like I've ever been a part of. So, um, so that was episode 5, and now episode 6 is when you meet the blind girl, and she's a good earthbender, and Aang wants to learn from her, and he won't learn. She won't teach him until I forget what changes her mind. But then finally she's like, "Yeah, I'll teach you." But the cool thing is she's blind, and Aang likes that because he remembers that you have to learn earthbending from someone that listens. So who's a better listener than someone that can't see? Nobody. So he tries to get with her. Her parents are real stuck up, trying to protect her, even though she's the most powerful earthbender we've seen so far. The parents still feel like they need to protect her. And I believe, if I remember correctly, she runs away with them. So now their team is even stronger. So that's insane. So the Fire Nation is still after them. So that basically sums it up. So I'm excited to see what these 4 amigos can go and do. What kind of shit they can fuck up. Because if they show up, they're fucking shit up. No question. So, yeah, I think that's a good episode. I like it. That's probably one of my craziest stories about that old man. I got some more. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, we're going to keep going. We are going to keep going. So, like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.